Hi gaming guys, and welcome to episode 35 of Days Gone By, the review series for the classic and vintage cars of Gran Turismo. And in this particular episode we're featuring a vehicle which is quite underestimated, I would say. Not exactly widely used as far as classics go, but is actually a vehicle that, primarily due to making this series, I've actually become a fan of, because this was a car which, even myself, I didn't care about, and I pretty much never used, and that is the 1979 Nissan Bluebird 1800 SSS. Quite a name, and quite a car, because this vehicle has something of a sleeper appeal to it. It's a boxy old school Nissan. It's called the Bluebird, which is synonymous with just normal cars, nothing special really, but what it offers is actually really good, and this is a seriously fun car to drive. Now, as the name suggests, you're looking at a 1.8 litre engine. It's turbocharged in fully tuned form to 278 horsepower, which is pretty good. It also puts out 231 foot-pounds of torque, and it's a lot lighter than you'd probably assume. This is not a small car, it's a decent sized coupe, but it only weighs 882 kilos with the full weight loss package. That's pretty impressive. That's lighter than quite a few sports cars, for instance. Now, the horsepower per tonne sits at 315, which is pretty good. It's not amazing, but it's good enough for the power, and the PP, when fully tuned, is also pretty good. 470 certainly isn't too high for this car, and it is competitive at that level. Now, as far as price, that's actually one of the best things about this vehicle, because this car is dirt cheap. It costs about as much as a typical small Japanese classic hatch at just under 13 grand. That makes it one of the cheapest full-size classics in the game. So for 12 grand, or just under 13 technically, you get a pretty strong spec. It's light, powerful, pretty torquey, has a decent horsepower per tonne, and a reasonable PP, certainly a very usable one. This is looking like a pretty good deal so far. But what about in practice? Can it put those good numbers to good use? Well, I would say yes, it can. This is a car which, like some other Japanese performance cars, not just classics, is very good as a multi-purpose vehicle. The most obvious use for it is, of course, circuit racing, PP-specific racing, to be specific, but it's also good for drifting. Very good for drifting, in fact, because it is a rear-wheel drive car. Most of the weight is over the front end, of course, with the front engine layout, and it just has a shape and a style which is very conducive and also very visually appropriate to drifting. It looks right when you've got this car sideways around corners. It just looks suited to that. It's got that old school Japanese charm which many car enthusiasts love. Personally, I'm not hugely into the classic Japanese car scene, but some of them I do certainly like, and this, I would say, is one of them. It's a great car. It's very fun to drive. You're pretty much guaranteed not to see anyone else using it in the vast majority of lobbies, and although some people, of course, do like the car, it's just not a vehicle that you see used that much. And that's their loss, because this is a really good PP-specific car. Now, obviously, 470 pp is fully tuned, and you can, of course, use it at lower pp levels than that, and for those, it's just as good. This is a brilliant all-round classic car, especially if you're on a budget. This is cheap, fast, in my opinion at least, looks pretty good, is kind of a sleeper if you want it to be, not necessarily in bright yellow, but it can be a sleeper. It's definitely underestimated, completely underused, and if you like to be different from the crowd, which I can certainly appreciate, then it's a great choice to go for. Obviously the top speed isn't exactly going to worry something like a Gullwing or a Stratos anytime soon, but it's quick enough for most tracks, certainly quick enough for its power, and it can dispatch many other classic vehicles and even some modern ones at its PP level. This is a brilliantly underrated vehicle, and if you haven't tried this particular Bluebird, which incidentally I would say is the best Bluebird in the game, which doesn't really sound like it's saying much, but still, then definitely check it out. This is a car which probably won't appeal to modern car fans, although it should, but it's one which is definitely worthy of your time. So that's it overall for this particular pick. There's not really that much else to say about the car, it's just pretty much really good in every way. So, as I said, definitely check it out, but for now, as always, thanks for watching.